That was a terrible answer.
No, it was a great answer.
It was so general. I'm really surprised myself how bad that answer was.
Texas 1549, runway 4, clear for takeoff.
Sully. Sully. Sully, your kilo. Sully. Sully. Sully.
People will say, well, I know what happened. They took off, birds hit them, and they landed in the Hudson, and it took them 3 minutes to get down. What they don't know is the National Transportation Safety Board inquiry afterwards that had to determine whether or not Sully and Skiles were at fault for this. And they could lose their jobs, lose their pensions, lose their reputations. That's really where the tension and conflict comes from in this movie. And I think Clint, and we have a great writer for it, but Clint figured out that that's where the story was. And that's what drew him into it. And nobody can tell a story like Clint. And interestingly enough, Clint tells the story of he himself as a young man was traveling in a plane in the back of an Air Force plane when he was younger, and they were flying over Northern California, and they had to land the plane in the ocean. Something went wrong with the plane and they had to make a water landing, and they survived the water landing. So he had experience in this.
It's not a crash, it was a forced water landing.
Simulations showed that you could make it back to the airport.
Not possible. I felt it go.
This movie is about doing our job is extraordinary enough.
Exactly.
Do you think that's the message?
Let's say that the whole family goes to see this movie, or children. You know, they can learn that lesson and they can take solace in this story if ever they need to, rely on the message of this movie. They can reflect on that and do what they have to do to get the job done. That was a terrible answer.
No, it was a great answer.
It was so
actually.
general. I'm really surprised myself how bad that answer was.
But you went with your gut.
People call you a hero.
I don't feel like a hero.
Show us your case, Super Sully!
There's been too much talk in the press already.
I'm overwhelmed by all this attention.
Well, first of all, after the accident, both pilots suffered PTSD. They lost weight, they couldn't sleep, they had the shakes, as it talks about in the movie. Jeff quit flying for a while because of the hearing. They didn't know on a daily basis for 18 months whether they were ever gonna fly again, how they were gonna make money. And interestingly enough, the thing that they said that was the most important thing was the loss of their reputations. I mean, because they developed over the course of 20 years or whatever it was, a reputation as being good pilots, and that was very meaningful to them, and they didn't want to lose that. And it could have been, as Tom says, if a ballpoint pen had dropped out of Sully's pocket and fallen in such a way as to impede the proper action of this plane, he could have been at fault for the crash.
What did you learn with Jeff about being a good wingman?
If you just do your job, like the flight attendants just did their job, Jeff Skiles did his job, Sully did his job, air traffic control did their job, then usually things are going to come out right. And that's, everything, all the pieces, that make up the whole.
Over 40 years in the air, but in the end I'm going to be judged on 208 seconds. I need a count, passengers and crew.
Is anyone still here?